Quality is the best business plan. A quote by John Lasseter. Welcome to this 30-day live stream on intrapreneurship. My name is Jürgen Moors. I'm a coach, a strategic advisor, and a consultant. And we are in the third week of this 30-day live stream on intrapreneurship. And where in the first week we looked at some general items. Last week, you spent a lot of time talking about the skills of the intrapreneur. And this week, we're looking more at practical aspects. And I started with a quote of John Lasseter because I really want to focus on the last thing, the business plan or the business case. That is something that we will talk about today because it's really important for you as a successful intrapreneur to master how to build a good business plan. Now, for those who don't know, who just thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, what is a business plan? Well, basically, a business plan writes up or brings together the purpose of your project or your innovation with the goal to assess the potential benefits, the costs, the risks, and in such a way giving your decision makers the possibility to assess whether that investment, whether that innovation that you propose, whether that project that you propose is worthwhile pursuing. Now, how it is all brought together can differ from organization to organization. There are organizations that really want to have a formal Word document on it. There are organizations that work with PowerPoints. There are organizations that work purely with Excel, for instance. So you have different ways of bringing this together. It can be different in any organization that you are working for as well. So keep that in mind, but the basic components are mostly the same. Now, how do you build such a strong business case? Or what is a part of a strong business case? What are the key elements of a strong business case? Always make sure that no matter what it's PowerPoint, no matter whether it's a Word document or whatever, that you have a short, what is called an executive summary, where you line up the basics of your proposals or the overview with the most significant elements from your project or innovation, from the benefits, from the risks, from the cost. So that in a very quick overview, you can see from, okay, this is what it's all about. And then you go into detail. The first thing is, what problem are you going to solve? Or what issue are you going to tackle with your innovation? Make sure that it is very clearly communicated what the problem is or the opportunity that you're going to pursue. It doesn't always have to be an issue or a problem. It can also be a great opportunity that you want to pursue. So make sure that that is very clear, and that's where you start off with. Then come up with your innovation, your project, or your solution. Clearly say from, okay, that was a problem or the opportunity, and this is how I want to tackle this with my project, my solution, my innovation. And describe also all the elements, all the features, all the benefits that it can have immediately, but maybe there are upside benefits in the long term. So also make sure that you communicate them because they are part of it. Then what typically is there is a market analysis. Now, when you bring a new product, then you need a market analysis, but you don't always necessarily need a market analysis. It depends. You bring in, what will the cost structure be? What will be the insights? What will be the viability of the solution when you look at the product? But it can also be a competitive positioning, or it can look at your cost structure in comparison with other competitors. So market analysis can be: is there an analysis possible and useful for what you're doing? If you bring a product, it's clear you have to do a market positioning, a market analysis. But if it's having an impact on a cost structure or competitive positioning, there you need to do the analysis from a different point of view. And it's not necessarily a market analysis, it can also be a trend analysis. So this is a concept that depends on what your innovation is, what you're going to tackle. And then the last aspect of the 5 elements that everybody's aware of is, okay, what is now my financial impact? Of course, decision makers want to know, what's it going to cost me? What's going to bring? Do I going to have additional sales? Do I have a bigger margin? So, and when those 2 elements, you put them together and you have your return on investment. Those elements, as you said, those 5 blocks: the executive summary, the problem statement, the solution description, the market analysis, and the financial impact. They are typically, when you look in the internet, the basic elements of a business case. But I like to add a couple. And one of them is spend time to look at the strategic fit, because that's my own experience as well. Sometimes you can come up with a great innovation. For instance, give just a random example. You're working for a large company which is focused on high volume, low margin products. And you come up with an innovation, can be a product innovation, can be anything else, where you are able to enter a low volume, high end market. Strategically, these are completely different directions. So make sure in advance you also look at what is my strategic fit, because your innovation, your project might be a very good idea, but it might not fit strategically to the company or to your business unit or to your unit. And then you already know in advance that you will have to make sure that, what we will talk about later in this live stream, in onboarding your stakeholders, this is one of the topics that you will have to address. And better early than late, because if they don't want to change the strategic fit, if this strategy does not change, and it's not open for discussion, then the question you must ask yourself, is it worth pursuing? Is it worth putting your effort in? Sometimes it's okay to go a risk and put the effort in, because you can help shift the strategy, but not always. So try to assess that as well. And this is something that you learn over time when it's worth pursuing it and going the risk. And another thing is, because I was talking about risk, that I want to add is look at some kind of drafting is some kind of risk register. And a risk register is try to identify all of the risks that you can find when you look at your innovation, when you look at your project. This can be a time constraint where you say, from if we are too late, or if we're not the first, then there is a risk. When the project delays, these other risks: higher costs, lower sales, whatever. Are there specific risks to the project where you say, from these are elements that may have to be still developed, and if it's not developed in the time frame that we expect, the project will shift in this and this. And then also come up with alternatives. What if a certain risk actually materializes? What are you going to do? Do I have an alternative? Can I assess this alternative? And what's the impact from the alternative? And if something materializes of the risk and you don't have an alternative, what will be the result of that on the innovation project? So try to bring this all together in a risk register for yourself, and then try definitely to tackle the most important ones in your business case. You don't, probably your risk register will be a lot of items, but don't oversell it to all of your stakeholders, because sometimes it will be simply too much and they say, from, oh, too much risk. So make a fair risk register for yourself, and then take out the most important ones with the alternatives of how you're going to tackle them. And then you get the most important elements of your business case. And when you're going to start your business case, when you're going to start building a business case, what is a good strategy? Like I said, I mentioned it before, look at your stakeholders. Engage your stakeholders early on. Have discussions with your stakeholders before you're actually going to propose it, so that most of them are already aware that is somebody coming, because they can add additional insights, like there might be an issue with your strategic fit, or we have decided that we indeed will look into changing the strategy. So this project really fits in perfectly. So it can build additional support. But also, because you are working as an entrepreneur in a large organization, sometimes, or I saw a lot of projects in the past that were sub-optimizations, as I call them, meaning there was one unit who actually did it, but the negative effects of their decision of their product, they optimized in their silo, but the negative effects were for other silos. So try to assess that for yourself as well. Do I have, when I bring in innovation or project, does it have a certain negative effect towards another silo, or maybe even a positive effect for another silo? And try to involve them as stakeholders as well, because they might resist, or there might be an additional push for you to make your business case stronger because you can bring in their potential benefits as well. So look at your stakeholders as broad as possible, people that will actually be undergoing the innovation. If you roboticize part of your production or manufacturing, then the employees working in there will, yeah, experience the effects of that. Also involve them at a certain point in time, so you get a feeling for how easy will the innovation or the change be onboarded by those who will have to work with it, or those who experience the results of your innovation. And if you expect a larger, must I say, a larger action against it, that they are not so susceptible to it, that they know that maybe there is a resistance, then you can already also start working on that resistance on one hand side, and you can bring it in your risk register we just talked about as, look, we also have to tackle this with a large change program as well. The use of data, bring in your business case, in your financials, for instance, as much data as you can, whether it's quantitative, whether it's qualitative. It's crucial to do that, but don't overdo it. You can rationalize an innovation so much with amount of quantitative and qualitative data that there's one aspect that you have to learn. Sometimes it's just about strategy or emotional or personal fit, and then you can come up with 1,000 different sets of qualitative and quantitative that support your claim, but it's still a no. So gather as much as you can, and then take from your personal point of view the most important one. The rest you can keep in a backup or for yourself in a drawer, that you, when somebody asks for it, you can always show it. But take the most important one, and don't try to build and build and build, because I've seen this so much. Some people come up with a great idea, they have a huge amount of data to support it, and because of the other reasons I just mentioned before, there's not a strategic fit or whatever, it is not supported, the claim, and they will search for additional data. Well, the data will not help you. So take out and focus on the most important data as evidence. What I said before, make sure that there's an alignment with the strategic goals, not only of your organization, but also focusing on the business unit that you may be in, the unit that they're in, maybe the location. Sometimes the strategy inside Europe is different versus strategy in the US or in Asia. So make sure that there is an alignment with that strategic goal, or if there is margin to move a little with that strategic goal. This is also very important. And then look at trends in the company, trends in industry, trends in technology. Is there a certain fit? Can you build your case on that as well? Can you add that as well? Because sometimes it can be a push if there is a certain trend in the industry towards, let's say, decarbonization. It helps you if you come up with innovative projects in that area, because the trend is in the industry, so it'll probably also reach at a certain point in time your company as well. Or there's certain regulation that supports you that is also a trend that then rolls out through the industry or throughout the region. So be aware of trends as well, because they can build your strategy as well. And then what I call the emotional or personal fit. Be aware of your stakeholders, and especially of the decision makers and the stakeholders. How does it fit their goals? And I'm not talking about personal goals. I'm more talking about their goals, what they are responsible for in the organization. Maybe a VP that is responsible for manufacturing, one of his goals is to drive down cost, and your project exactly does that. Well, then you know that chances are he will support it. But sometimes there is no fit there to their goals, and then it's either whether they like it or not, whether they like you or not, whether they're going to support it or not, or whether they will take no position. But if there is a fit, then chances are that they will take a positive position towards your project, and that always helps when you're building the business case. So also that focus also on that. And that brings me basically to the end of this presentation about business cases, how you build them, what are the most important things in there. But there's one thing that I would definitely want to give you. Don't step along in the over business casing. Now, what I mean with that is I've seen over the last 5 to 10 years, a lot of major companies, big players, using or misusing the business case to slow down projects, to slow down innovation, because they ask for a bigger project, a business case, but they're starting to ask, management layers are starting to ask business cases for small, insignificant changes as well, where you have to spend 5,000 euros or $50. This is just a way to stop complete the innovation and the change, to stop costs. That is the major goal, to stop cost. But they misuse the aspect of the business case. So if you see I'm in this place, resist that. Don't go in that story, because it's misusing the business case and it's abusing your time as an entrepreneur. Look at something else for that. Try to focus on something else. Don't go along in that mantra, because I don't believe in it. And the second thing is, when it works to business cases and we look at new technologies, new trends in technology, the business case by business case approach is not always going to work. Um, if you look at Industry 4.0, a lot of the projects and a lot of the technologies, when you look at the different locations to implement it, a whole lot of the business cases are negative. If you look basically at an iPad and you say from, okay, I want a piece of paper where I do my operator checks and fill them out right now, and I guess replace them with a tablet, it's always a more expensive solution. And the business case is always negative. But if you look at a bigger picture, if you can try and bring in the holistics of it and say from now look at Industry 4.0 at a higher level, or at the tablet at a higher level in this case, we can add additional information. They can start using it for augmented reality. Then the business case of introducing this technology becomes a lot bigger, and the benefits become also a lot bigger. But it's not on one use case, one business case itself. So try to be very careful, but also very aware of that they don't push you in a business case by business case approach for every use case in certain technological trends, because it will always be negative. It won't work. Then try to bring it to a whole other level. And that's what I did in my organization when I was digitizing my unit over a period of time. I refused to step into this business case by business case approach, and I took it to a whole other level. And I said, when I completely digitize my unit, this will be the benefits. But don't expect me to come back for every little project with a business case, because I know a lot of those business cases in the beginning will be negative. It's only when everything starts to come together that it starts to work. And then you actually become digitized, that the true benefits will start to come. So try to be aware of that as well, that sometimes you have to leave behind a smaller business case and look at another level, at an holistic level, to build a business case there, to tackle some of the negative business cases you had. But the overall business case is way more positive. But if you leave out those negative business cases, also the overall will be negative. So be aware of that and don't step into this mantra as well. And when you present your business case, when you have it, like I said, don't step into it. And when you present it, we go back to a little bit of the skills that we discussed last week. Make sure when you bring it in the right way to the right audience. Tailor it to your audience. Give it with confidence. Make it as a clear communication. Don't come up with all this technological slang. No, just use the right language, the right visuals. Make it simple. So all the aspects that we discussed before about bringing bringing a presentation, bringing change, and using your communication skills. Make sure that they are also valid in the case of a business case. And that wraps up today a little bit about what the business case is. So, and what it stands for. So what I would urge you to do for today is, as one action, is think about some business cases you did in the past and that failed, where the project failed, not the project itself, but where you failed to get the resources or reach the goal that you actually want to do. And try to figure out, is one of the things that I discussed today a reason for that, or is one of the things that maybe you did not do out of the elements that could have helped you at that point in time. And with that knowledge, join me tomorrow. And tomorrow we will discuss about how you can actually implement all of your innovations and ideas as a successful entrepreneur. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.